day. It's not going to be easy. You've got to keep on trying. You've got to be dedicated. You've got to be have it as your priority. Some of the things that and you put a list of priorities in your life, and one of them is you got to make sure that you know the different techniques, the methods that best suit you. In my book, I've put 101 ways to concentrate in prayer, and I say in the book that it's best if don't despair if some of them don't actually work, because you might not really relate to these particular techniques. But what's important is you give it a try. You do actually try, continuously try, and pick up the different techniques and implement the different techniques. So the question is, what is the best way to concentrate in prayer? I can't tell you the best way. There are various ways, but I can tell you some of the ways that helps me. One of them fundamental ways that definitely helps is if you truly comprehend the meaning of the verses of the Quran. Because it's very important for us to, we all know how to recite. We all know how to recite Surah Al-Hamd, Surah Qul Huwallahu Ahad, and everything else. But we don't perhaps comprehend the true meanings of these particular verses. And it's very important for us to comprehend the meanings. So what does Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin? What's the difference between Alhamd and Ash-Shukr? Right? In these particular instances, what does Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim? What's the difference between Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim? Anyone can tell me? Yes, sister.
Rahman means God gives all everything to everyone, whether it is Kafir or Muslim. But Rahim is all the ni'mat that Rahim means for afterlife in Qiyamah.
Yes.
Rahim is probably anyone can be Rahim. I can be Rahim as well. I can.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. You're both absolutely right, but they are the characteristics of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim he's merciful to all mankind, right? And as you said, it's whether you're a Muslim and a non-Muslim, he's open and merciful to all mankind. Ar-Rahman is specifically to those who are mu'mineen. All right, those who are truly the believers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when he says he is forgiving to those in mu'mineen, he gives them this speciality. He sort of says, okay, I can forgive those people who everyone else, but al-mu'mineen, I give them some sort of a special attention, right? And if they sin, I know their intentions. I know they are true mu'mineen, so therefore I will forgive them. So these things is an example. I mean, we can go through Surah Al-Hamd, but that's not the aim of this. But the thing is that if you can comprehend the meaning of Surah Al-Hamd, it's not an excuse, by the way, that you don't know Arabic. That's not an excuse. Okay, not knowing Arabic won't save you in Yawm Al-Qiyamah. Right? Got to understand. Before even understanding, you got to know how to recite it. And by the way, I have heard, especially the non-Arabs amongst us, who do recite these things incorrectly, in certain cases. Wala zalin. Wala zalin is incorrect. It's wala va. There's a letter called vad. It's not a z. Z is a different letter. Yes, you might not know how to say it, but you can practice. You can practice to say wala valin, right? And saying wala zalin actually in certain cases does make the prayer void. Okay, so you've got to try. You've got to try and keep on practicing how to say wala zalin. All of these things help you. And other ways, I'll say just one or two more and then stop. Other ways is trying to recite different surahs in the second After Surah Al-Hamd. So after Surah Al-Hamd, we tend to only recite those that we always know. Surah Qul A'udhu Bi Rabbin Nas, Qul A'udhu Bi Rabbil Falaq, Al-Mu'awwidhatayn, Wal-'Asr, Inna A'tainaka, which is good. But it's actually makruh to keep on repeating. The only surah that it's recommended you repeat is which surah? Surah? No, not Surah Qadr. What surah? Yes. I mean after Surah Al-Hamd, which is very highly recommended you repeat. Al-Ikhlas. Surah Qul Huwa Allah Wahad is recommended because it emphasizes the unity, al-wahdat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It emphasizes the tawheed. Yes? But other than that, it's actually makruh you repeat in the same salah. Where happened to Qul Ya Ayyuhal Kafirun, Al-Adha, Al-Inshirah, all these different Tabbat Yada Abi Lahab. There's so many different small chapters that you can recite. And if you do that, then you become conscious. Let me tell you something about concentration. Concentration it's a bit like driving a manual car, right? Driving a manual car is, I'm guessing that more men do it than women, right? Or am I being sexist here? Sexist? Sorry, forget that. All right. Because my wife drives automatic and I'm thinking maybe... Okay, so now everyone hates me. When you drive a manual car, right? When you drive a manual car, at the first, when you are learning, you're actually paying attention to changing gears, right? You pay attention, gear 1, gear 2, gear 3, gear 4, etc. You know, you're really paying attention to it. But then your mind starts getting used to it, yeah? So you don't really think about changing gears anymore. You know, you can talk on the phone, right? And change gear 2, gear 3, gear 4. So it's not, you're not really conscious. Your mind takes over. You go on autopilot. This is what's happening in Salah. We're going on autopilot in Salah, right? When we say Allahu Akbar, influx of all thoughts come in my head, all sorts of things that have just happened. I'm not in the present moment. If I am in the present moment, then I concentrate in my prayer. But I've got to get out of this autopilot. So my theory is that I've got to change my salah. Keep on changing salah, but changing, of course, on the boundaries of what is allowed and what's not. And that's what I mean by the second chapter, you change the second chapter. Another example is, so instead of Subhana Rabbi al-Azim wa bihamdih, you say 3 times Astaghfirullah, Astaghfirullah, Astaghfirullah. It's change. You're allowed to do that. Okay? Another example is when you are what's another example? Another example is in the third and fourth ruk'ah, if there is a fourth ruk'ah, instead of doing 3 times Astaghfirullah, Subhanallah walhamdulillahi wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar, you read Surah Al-Hamd. Yeah? Instead of that, you read just Surah Al-Hamd but in a quiet way. Okay, so all of these are changed to your system. Your system will realize, you think, what is going on here? There's a change. I should concentrate. Yeah? And of course, there are so many different ways that I think we should... but there are other better books than mine, of course. You can go and read... if you're really up for it, you should really read Imam Khomeini's book, Adab al-Salah. But it's actually quite deep. And I do reference it quite a bit. Mine is a bit more simplistic to my level.
Are there any questions from the audience? We've got a roaming mic. Sisters, if you have any questions. Oh, there's a question from the brothers, okay.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you very much, brother, for very nice lectures full of knowledge and information. In Quran, in Surah Shams, it says, وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. You have explained over 6 nights about taqwa. That was very nice and very good explanation of it. But there is a fujur as well. Would you like to explain briefly what is fujur?
وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا.
Yeah. And sorry. And secondly, I read in some translations that taqwa is the root word, the masdar for it is quwwa. Is that right?
Yeah, taqwa, the yes, absolutely. That's the origin, the root of the word. Yeah,
So can we say it is like a mental power rather than?
Taqwa, yes. I mean, it can be explained as being someone who. I mean, usually the root word is power, but also it can be interpreted as fear also at the same time. You do have some sort of mental power, but also it's fearing. And that's why when people explain, translate taqwa, they say fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they have this, they say, you're pious towards Allah and you fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's the main root of the word. The other way of explaining it is what I've described, which is God consciousness. I think it takes everything into account. It takes the being pious, fear, and being conscious in every single moment of your life of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's presence. And I think a lot of people do talk about piety, do talk about fearing Allah, but for me, taqwa is beyond all this. It's including these things, but it's beyond it.
Yeah, but sorry, every human being is given equal amount of that taqwa, according to that Surah Shams. وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا.
Yeah.
Every soul has been balanced in a way that it is being given equal amount of fujur and taqwa.
And I have to go back and read the interpretation of that verse. I am not very well versed with that, with the deep interpretation. But what I think it means, وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is swearing by the Shams and by the soul that He has created. He's saying وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا, He has created the soul. فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا, and He has given it and given it the opportunity to rise into a state of taqwa and fujur. And that's the what I understand from fujur is not is the opposite of taqwa. It's not the state of taqwa itself, but actually the opposite of taqwa. And I need to revise this, but I believe that is the opposite side of taqwa. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you can either be a taqi or fajr. Fajr means you become disobedient, you go astray, right? So you either can become a muttaqi or you can be but it doesn't, according to my understanding, it doesn't say I've guaranteed you taqwa or fujur. It says I've given you opportunity. Your nafs can either be taqwa or fajr. Thank you. Allahu a'lam.
Any other questions from the audience?
There was a sister there.
Muhammad, could you?
I want questions from the younger generation, please. Doesn't mean the elders don't ask, but I enjoy the questions from the younger generation. Yes, sister.
Since Adam and Eve were one of the first things that God has ever created, if God has created Adam and Eve, which are known as humans, then what was the point of human evolution if they were already human?
Okay. I don't want questions from the kids. I'm trying to understand your question. You are saying, wait, keep the mic. So you're saying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created Adam and Eve, and what if they were humans, what's the point of us?
No, I mean, what was the point of, you know how scientists say that our relatives are monkeys and all those? If Adam and Eve were already human, then why did we need to have relatives that were other animals if humans were already
Yeah, I mean, if you look at, this question obviously going to be asked to those who believe in those particular theories, but you see, they don't even believe in Adam and Eve. When you talk to those evolutionists and they say, well, Adam and Eve didn't exist. They know, if you believe in Adam and Eve only if you believe in, you're a Muslim, you're a Jew, Christian and stuff, they all believe in Adam and Eve, yeah? But if you're someone who doesn't believe in God, just believes that, we've all, believes in Darwinism, right? They believe that we've evolved from apes and things like that, then they don't really believe in Adam and Eve. Or even if they do, they say, yeah, well, you know, Adam and Eve came from the apes and stuff like that. Yeah. Yes.
Maybe it helps. I've read somewhere, I cannot remember where, that Adam and Eve, before Adam and Eve, they were humans at the Stone Age. So at least about 4,000, 5,000 before that era, they were humans, but not.
There's an interesting theory.
They were just humans, not insan.
Yeah, but that's a Sunni point of view. For us, it hasn't really been. There's lots of reports about this. I'll tell you this very quickly because there's lots of talk about this. The issue is that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he had a conversation with the malaika, right? Inni ja'ilun fil ardi khalifa. Then the malaika told him, are you actually going to put a khalifa on this earth, on the earth, and they're going to kill each other and destroy each other? أتجعل فيها يفسك الدماء ونحن نسبح بحمدك ونقدس لك. We're actually the people who you should put on earth. You're going to put the humans and they're going to fight each other. The question is, how did the malaika know that humans are going to fight each other and they're going to cause bloodshed? Yeah, one of the things that there's a Sunni point of view that says that there were people called Nisnas. They were sort of half jinn, half humans. Yeah, they used to live before human beings on earth, right? And they used to like kill each other. They were like crazy, wow, you know, just like everyone kills each other continuously, right? Even worse than humans, believe it or not. And so the malaika, where they've seen those creatures before. This is a theory, of course. Not, you know, it's not, but it's according to Sunni traditions. And there were lots of, you know. So Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, and Iblis was one of them, but Iblis was one of the righteous ones, right? But then Allah Subhanahu wa Taala took Iblis away from the earth and brought him to the heavens. Right? And then he killed all those nisnas, all these creatures. Yeah? And in fact, there's other theories about, you know, that's why the jinn, we can't see them because God is punishing them for what they did during nisnas time and, you know, all these things, right? But that's not the Shia point of view. Okay? It's where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, when he tells the malaika, inni ja'ilun fil ardi khalifa, you know, there are certain malaika that their job, their speciality is on earth. That's why we said تَنَزَّلُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَالْرُوحُ فِيهَا. Those malaika that are not situated on earth, on the heavens and earth, they all come down during Laylatul Qadr. So there are certain malaikas that have different jobs all around the universe, right? And in the heavens and stuff like that. So they had an idea of, they were trying to have an educated guess of, you know, they're going to do this, you know. But malaika, we believe, are righteous things, right? So they weren't sort of trying to shout at Allah or become angry. No, they were very calm about it. But they said, you know, oh Allah, you're going to put these guys, and we think they're going to kill each other. Whereas we've been worshipping you for years and years and thousands of years. Allah said, Inni a'lamu ma la ta'lamun. Don't worry. And that's why Adam alayhi salam, when he's created, وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gifted Adam the asma. Asma isn't just the name, it's not the names of Allah. Yeah, it's not the names of Allah. There's different theories about, reports about what is actually asma that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught Adam. Okay, some people say it's actually you know, the whole world and where things are and how things are situated and where things are placed and things like that. But there's lots of different reports about what it is. Anyway, I think we're going too much. But yeah, this is the theory of Nisnas at the which is a report. I believe it's a Sunni report.
Do you have another question from this?
So why do people like have the intention to go against Muslims instead of Jews or Hindus?
It's a very good question. Thank you very much. You must be very intelligent. You and the sister sitting beside you. You see, my sister, there are certain Muslims that have understood their religion different to us. Okay, they've misunderstood the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They didn't get his message properly. Okay, whereas if we actually go back to the Quran and we read about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was a very kind person. He was someone who was always, he used to draw people's attention towards him because of his really nice akhlaq and really nice morals, and he was smiley. He was a very quiet man, and what we talked about, a God-conscious person in the lectures. But these people have understood it differently. They thought that the prophet used to go and kill people and do things, and we've got to take revenge and things like that, and they've misunderstood it. Okay, and they were very similar people at the time of the Prophet as well. The time of the Prophet, they called themselves Muslims, and at the time of Imam Ali, they called themselves Muslim, right? But they've misunderstood the thing. They think that everything is solved through violence, whereas our intellect, our brain tells us that's not true. I can be a good person, and maybe just a smile towards someone will change them. Maybe if I say something beautiful to someone, it will change them. But these people who are doing lots of mischief in this world, they don't get it. For us as the Muslimin, as mu'mineen, we get it, right? And what we've got to do is we've got to tell the people out there, when you go to school, okay, and things like that, by you wearing this beautiful hijab, okay, you are telling people, look how respectable we are in society. And when you have the beautiful akhlaq that you have in your school, people will say, wow, look at Islam. This is the Islam that should be followed, not the Islam of those maniacs, right? But we have a struggle, my dear sister. We have a struggle because the media keeps on portraying our faith, falsely. So you and I have to work together to try to make sure we explain to the media and outside world that Islam is not a bad religion. Islam is a great religion. But by the way, the Jews and the Christians, they also have some maniacs in them as well. Okay, so it's not just Islam. It's just this time, in our time, in the 21st century, unfortunately, it's those. But during previous years, you've had lots of Christians who were, groups who used to kill people, Jews, and unfortunately, you have Israel. Israel is they're all Jews, and look at what they're doing to Palestinians. Don't forget, yeah. We're not saying Israel's Jews are bad people, but what we're saying is Zionism, which is the movement behind Israel, is bad. But we're not saying Jews are bad people. Okay, so it's all about the people's understanding. But let's leave those alone. What we've got to do is take care of ourselves. Number one, we make sure our akhlaq is very good at school, with our parents, because this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala judges us on. Our akhlaq, that's the main thing. And our salah, everything is good. And then we go as ambassadors. My wife is a doctor, okay? And I always tell her that when you go and treat patients, right, you're an ambassador to Islam. When someone, she's a GP, when someone comes and sees her, right, they see her as a professional lady who's wearing the hijab, right, and she's a doctor and stuff. I tell her you're an ambassador to Islam. That is why Imam al-Sadiq, when he says, be called to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without words. It's just by you, having this beautiful hijab, and make sure you have a beautiful hijab, not like hair showing and places, right? The hijab has to be complete. That is the hijab that we have been, is prescribed in Islam, okay? When you have this beautiful hijab, you're an ambassador to Islam. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will definitely reward you for this.
So next written question is, I try to concentrate on my salat and sometimes I repeat the ayah. Is it acceptable? And if it is not, shall I ignore my waswasa, my doubts? And could you expound upon doubts in general?
Is there another concentration? That's the only one. Yeah. So I have also in my book about al-waswasa, and this is OCD, yeah, obsessive compulsive disorder, and it's a disease. It really is, and you have to try to not let it go. أحسنت طيب الله أنفاسك. You have to make sure that it doesn't it's not prolonged, because if it's prolonged it will become more and more of a problem. There are many Muslims unfortunately who are troubled by waswasa, and mainly it's from the shaitan, and unfortunately sometimes it can be a mental health issue, right, where they will repeat the wudu. You say, oh, I've moved my hand, or I've moved my face, oh, I've moved, things like that. So repeat the wudu again, repeat the wudu, and repeating the verses of the Quran, repeating the ayat, yeah. And what our ulama say is you should ignore, even if you think you've done it wrong, ignore it, just continue, because then it's a waswasa, it's becoming a disease, yeah. So just leave it, just continue. If you think you've done your wudu wrong, because you have this waswasa, if you think you've done your wudu wrong, leave it. Just finish the wudu, continue, right? So people spend hours washing as well, doing the prayers and things like that. So just ignore it. And that is the best way. Just ignore the waswasa. It's, your mind will keep on telling you, do it again, do it again, do it again. But you have a green light from our ulama to say, leave it, don't do it. We're telling you, don't continue. Just, continue. Don't continue doing the wudu again or repeating it again and again and again. Yeah.
Does this apply to the miscounting the rak'ahs as well?
Yes. If you do a shak, you mean a shak fi salah? Yeah. If you do have this shak in salah too many times, لا تبالي بشكك, just leave your shak, and just, if you think that it's Salatul Isha but you think you've done 3 or 4, there are certain ways to try to, if you don't have this calamity of doing repeating, then there are certain things you should do. But every time if you do shak, just leave it, just assume you've done 4, continue. Islam is not a difficult religion, my brothers and sisters. Allah isn't there to make our life hard. Allah wants us to have an easy life, and He wants us to come closer to Him. That's why in our worship we have to take it easy. Take it easy. It's a beautiful religion. Honestly, it's a beautiful. Let's not make it difficult religion. It's a beautiful religion. But we go on. Shaitan takes us to these side issues that will make us hate the worship sometimes. It's a beautiful religion. If you got a problem, just leave it. Just continue with your worship. The most important thing is your connection with Allah, is your love to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's a sister there that cannot be seen.
Okay.
She is waving.
Go ahead. I think Hasib was first. So
Hasib was first. Hasib. Yes, brother Hasib.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaykum assalam.
First of all, on behalf of the IOS, I'd like to, thank you humbly for attending and
thank you
giving
very
us a
much.
series of
I was wondering when someone from the behalf of IOS will thank me. Thank God it came before I go.
It was better late than never, huh?
Yeah, better late than never. And it came from you, so it's amazing.
So I've actually got 2 questions. One's regarding your lecture today, and one's regarding your lecture yesterday. So I'll start with yesterday's. So you referred to a book called Al-Saduq Al-Amali, page 328, and you emphasize the importance of praying on time. So on-time salat essentially equates to an angel taking a pure white salat to heaven, and a late salat equates to, and I quote, "May God neglect you in the same way you neglected me," referring to the salah. What would you define what would you define as a late salat? Is that a qaza salat, or would it be, say for example, Zuhr is at 1 o'clock and you've read it at 3 o'clock, while it's still time, but it's not exactly bang on time? And B, if a late prayer equates to neglect by Allah, is it even worth praying if it's late? Because the last thing you want to do is being neglected by God. Is it even worth praying at that point? So my question regarding today's is, you said...
Can I answer the first one, because I've got memory issues?
Go ahead.
So the first question, in that particular hadith, it can apply to both qada and praying on time. But I remember the hadith says fi awwali waqtiha, so in its time, on the dot. So either, I mean, you can interpret it, we love interpreting things. So you can interpret it as qada, or you can interpret it, but I like to interpret it as the time of prayer, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, sometimes when we read a hadith, we have to go back to the Quran and say, is it in accordance with the Quran or not? And this one says yes. Inna salata tanha an al-fahsha'i munkar. That's not the verse I wanted to read. The one I wanted to read is Inna salata kanat ala al-mu'minina kitaban mawquta. Right? As-salah must be done at that particular time. There's a time limit for salah, right? So that particular salah, if it's of course, what is highly recommended is you pray it on exactly the time. So when it's salah time, you leave everything, because Allah is calling you. Okay, if you have work, if you've got things like that, which is more important? Of course, Islam doesn't want you to change in terms of, put you in a bad situation. If you're at work and you've got a meeting, okay, just finish the meeting and go to pray. But if you've got your job is very systematic, you're doing the same thing and stuff like that, get up for prayer at 1. It teaches you, honestly, salah as well teaches you how to organize your life, right? And that's why al-hadith from Imam al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, he says that أوصيكم بتقوى الله ونظم أمركم. I ask you to have taqwa in Allah and organize your time. Organization is so important our time, because time flies. Yeah? And it's also for the youth. What time do you wake up in the morning? Having 12, 13 hours sleep is probably, to my calculations, that's too much, even on a Sunday. By the way, there is no such thing as, I make up sleep on Sunday. That doesn't make sense. You're just sleeping too much on Sunday. That doesn't make sense. I make up sleep. It's not like you're carrying something and I'm deficient. It's not vitamins. If it's not vitamin D where you can take at the end of the week a high dose. Pharmacists around here, but I know, right? It's not that. You have a system where you get sufficient amount of sleep, but that's it, right? I talk to myself as well about this. So pray on time. If you can't, then there is this 1 hour where they say, this 1 hour where you can, pray the fariḍah in that particular hour. Outside that hour, of course, the amount of thawab and reward will be less and less. And if it gets very close to when it's qadha, then that's the worst time. But even, when you said about it goes to the sky, it goes to the heavens, praying is better than non-praying, even if it's qadha. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Ghafoorun Rahim. He will still want you to call Him. It's like I was teaching some kids last week or something, and I told them, do you guys love your mom? I'm asking you, do you guys love your mom? Of course. And they said, they all went, yeah, we all love my mom and stuff like that. I said, okay, when you grow up, are you going to keep on calling your mom? And they said, yeah, we love her so much. How are you not going to call her? I told her every day. Yeah, we'll call her every day. I said, okay, then what if you don't call your mom? What will your mom do? They said, oh, she's going to get upset, and things like that. I said, okay, then how about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves you. You love Him, but sometimes you don't call Him if you don't pray. Isn't He going to get upset? But even then, your mom might not forgive you but Allah will forgive you for not remembering him at that time. What's the other question?
The other question is, so in today's lecture you referred to a statistic of 62% of British people agreed that Britain will lose its identity if more Muslims came to live. And you spoke about essentially what seemed to be like integration within the community. How is this possible though, when British identity and values look to be the polar opposites of the Islamic values that we withhold? For example, I work in the city centre. I see all the time British values which just seem to be going out, drinking alcohol, clubbing, all these things that are haram, inappropriate actions. How are we supposed to integrate into that kind of society and withhold our values when their values seem to be the exact opposite of what we have?
You know, it's there's a saying, I'm not sure how authentic it is, but it says, you know, you learn even, you learn from strangers, right? And gain knowledge even from China, right? The thing is that we, as Muslims, we're open to engaging with other people, learn from others, but we also have an intellect. You know, we also have a brain where we select what we learn from and we ignore the stuff that we don't learn from. Now, what I mean by integrating societies, I don't mean you go down and, you know, to the pub. How do you guys say it in Manchulian? Pub. Pub, yeah, pub. We say pub in London. Right, we say pub. Yeah, we don't. You know, I'm not saying you go to the nightclub or you go to the pub or something like that. You know, that's not what I'm saying. But integrating means that we open our centers, we open our houses to those individuals, right? And tell them, you know, even at work, invite those your friends to your home. You know, you say, look, I don't drink alcohol, so there's not going to be alcohol in my house. Yeah, but come for lunch. Why not? Let them bring their family. I've done that. I don't mean I'm the role model, but I've done that. I've invited my manager and his wife and his 2 kids to my house, and we've had dinner. And he's invited me to his house, and I've been to his church. He goes to his church. I've seen them baptize someone, right? You know, I've sat down with them, and I've taken my kids there. Sat down in the church. I tell them, look, this is Christianity. We live in a country which is Christian. We can't keep on hiding these issues. You know, it's a Christian country. No, it is. There's lots of churches around. Okay, but still, it's known as a Christian country. Okay, you know, regardless of whether it's known as a. But the thing is that we've got to be open in that front. But you know, going out pubs and stuff. But this is where it gets a bit tricky. You know, just as a side point, a lot of people take it easy with going out on Christmas dinners, and not maybe to the pub, but to, you know, sitting down in where they share alcohol in the table. And our scholars are very strict on this. So what alternatively you can do is you can say, well, I don't drink alcohol, but we can go to somewhere that there is no alcohol that is shared, or I can take you to this, you know, Muslim restaurant or something like that. Yeah, but you've got to stick to your values. Don't make sure you don't shake in your values. Your values are strict, and you be proud of your values, right? Our values. I work in public health, okay, and there's a campaign now against alcohol. There's a huge campaign against alcohol. I'm saying I'm chilling. I'm saying, well, my religion says we don't drink anyway, mate. We don't have any problem. Back to our, honestly, if we don't have terrorism in our countries, we'll be great, because we're the best models. This is Islam, is the best model. Look at the NHS. I know doctors here work in NHS, right? And my wife used to also tell me when she used to work in the hospital, so that a lot of the cases is because of people who are drunk, right? Imagine how much money the NHS will save without drinking alcohol, right? But that's the thing, you know, the advice against it. And this is the issue. But Islam said that's the solution. There's a lot of things, by the way, that the West is picking up from Islamic values now. And one of them is the alcohol issue. Yes.
Could we go to the sister at the back?
Sorry, I'm taking long in my answers, right? I have verbal diarrhea. I've developed since I've come to Manchester. I'm taking Imodium, but
Assalamu
Alaikum
alaikum, brother.
assalam wa
And Jazakallah khairan.
No problem.
And I wanted to thank you very much for this evening's lecture. I very much welcomed your progressive, forward-looking encouragement
Thank
to
you.
the Muslims to come forward.
Thank
Now,
you.
you mentioned the prevent quite rightly. It's a disaster. But let me ask you, and I'm in no way defending prevent,
yes.
what alternative is there for this evil that is ISIS and Daesh and all these things that are those impressionable Muslims? And I used to stand for elections, and I know from experience, Muslims can be easily led, and they can be easily manipulated. It is very sad, but it's a fact. And so what alternative is there for people like from the Home Office? And just for information, they are now consulting on the strategy for re-radicalization. So you're well, I'm sure you have done already, but you and any other brothers and sisters can go online and submit a view on it and respond to it. So what alternative is there?
Thank you very much. That's a very, very good question. And I thank you very much for that question. I didn't, if you realize in my talk, I didn't say we should come up with an alternative to prevent. I said we should work and lobby the government. And lobbying the government means contacting the MP saying, I have concerns about this. I think it should be like this. And if you remember, I said we should consult this, we should make sure they consult us, the scholars. I don't mean me, but the scholars, the lawyers, the psychologists, Muslims who understand and are in the community, right? People sitting in the Home Office in MI5, MI6, in Scotland Yard, and I've met them, right? And they're very good people. They talk to you and stuff like that. But how much influence do we have over the prevent strategy? Because it's affecting us. It's affecting our children. It's affecting the next generation. Okay, so what I'm saying is, of course, these people need to be tracked down. Unfortunately, I heard a few days ago these two sisters and the mother. I don't know if you heard these two sisters and the mother. They went and bought knives, and and they caught them just before they go and do something in London, right? And the thing is that, yes, and alhamdulillah, they picking up those people who are being radicalized, but they're also doing quite a bit of mistakes. And my fear, what I'm saying, is we should work with them, not work against them. What I mean is the Home Office, right? And the government. Work with them, lobby them, so that they can consult and make sure that they understand our version of who should actually, what they should be looking for in terms of a radicalization, right? My fear, my sister, right, and it's a genuine fear that I think a lot of people also might have, is that I fear for my kids for the future. In 20 years' time, you and I might not be here, right? But I question whether the model, with the rise of Islamophobia and the model of prevent, etc., will be that they will tell my kids, if you don't follow this version of Islam, okay, then you're a radical, then you're a terrorist. Okay, if you don't follow, if you are too religious, if you ask for a prayer room in the prayer, if you etc., then there's question marks over you. I want to make sure that doesn't happen for the next generation after. I want to make sure it doesn't happen for these kids. That's why I think it's so important for us to lobby. Inshallah, it won't happen, but we can't be sitting down at home and just trying to think, oh, inshallah, it won't happen. Oh, Allah, inshallah. No, we've got to lobby the government and say there's a difference between those people who are religious, who are faithful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they do X, Y, and Z, and those people who radicalize. And we've got to identify who those people and which particular ideology they follow and which particular path they follow. And we've got to highlight that. That's why we have to have good relationships with the government. We can't be, I'm not asking for us to be, holding placards and throwing stones at them. No, I'm saying we should work with the government, lobby the government and say, look, this is the way that it should happen. Listen to us, right? I'm not coming up with an alternative to prevent. In fact, I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying we should prevent something that will, of course, focus on those individuals who are really radicalized and not individuals who are innocent and are just basically saying Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar, having a Palestine badge. During iftar, one of the brothers said that, you know, his sister also was found a particular case that it was quite ridiculous. These things are important for us to realize, and we've got to lobby the government on them. I don't know if I've answered your question.
I've got a few written questions here. So first one is, are there any times in the day when it is prohibited to pray? So when it is prohibited to pray, are there any times of day?
No, it's not the same as the Sunni point of view. We don't have any time of the day that is prohibited, except of course for the ladies. They have it's forbidden for them to pray on certain cases, but for the men and others, no, there isn't.
What is the best way to start to improve IIQ? What book or books do you recommend to start with?
It's very easy. There's a book called 101 Ways to Concentrate in Prayer. They don't sell it in the iOS here, unfortunately. They've boycotted it for some reason. It's a very good question. It depends what you really are interested in. You see, if you remember from my first talk, I talked about enthusiasm. Don't force yourself reading a book. You won't get anywhere. Your mind will not take it. Forcing yourself to do something that you don't enjoy is not a good idea. You've got to pick up enthusiasm. And that's why I said it's good to do a book club, especially for those young kids. Leave the phones, please. Yeah. Do a book club. Yeah. Take some of the your friends, all right, and sit down for once every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, and everyone reads a chapter per 1 week or 2 weeks. That gives you a bit of motivation because your friends are reading it as well. Okay? And no, I don't mean, as I said before, Harry Potter or William, what's his name, the David Williams, right? All his books and stuff. I don't mean that, right? I mean good spiritual books that will give you. For example, there is a good book, The Greater Sin of Dastagib. Okay, it's a very good book that gives you lots of wisdom into how to actually avoid greater and what are the greater sins. Okay, it's a very good book. Maybe you should come together and read. There's plenty of books down there. If you know Arabic, read Arabic. Arabic is vital. Sometimes translations don't really give you the right meaning. If you know Arabic, stick to Arabic and read Arabic. And by the way, if you don't know Arabic, learn Arabic. Reading the Quran is different in Arabic if you read it in English. Okay? And and gaining knowledge online. As I said, alislam.org is a very good website. There are it depends on if you want spiritual books. There are Sheikh Muhammad Ali Shomali has very good books on spirituality. If you go and search his name, Muhammad Ali Shomali, he's head of Islamic Center in London. He has very good spiritual books in English. Okay, if you want to read more about spirituality, about God consciousness, and there's good books about Salah. Read Imam Khomeini's good book. Is translated, okay, to English. There are also self-development books, self-awareness books. It doesn't have to be Islamic books, as I said. Maybe pick up a self-development. There's a really good book, I think, called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Anyone read this book? Good. The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, right? Eckhart Tolle is a spiritual guru, and he talks about how you be present, and it's available on audio books, right? And you can listen to it if you're not bothered by reading it. It's a very good book. It tells you the importance of now, and that for me is the number one fundamental issue in concentration and prayer and your daily life. Is always be in the present moment. Your mind will take you back and wants to worry about the future. Think about what's going to happen to me in 10 years' time. But plan for the future, that's fine. But don't worry about it. What's important is right now. If you keep on thinking now, then you'll always live well. Because everything is always now. You'll never live in the past, you'll never live in the future. You trust me, Back to the Future film is fiction. If you've seen it, right? You look so serious. It's fiction, don't worry. Okay, so it's Back to the Future is fiction. The true issue is right now. That is the main issue. Okay, so read about mindfulness. Mindfulness is great. There's lots of books, lots of workshops, lots of things about mindfulness. How to calm the mind. We need to calm the mind. Our mind is too engaged with all sorts of things.
One more written question I have is, in this northern region, there is a huge and increasing problem within the Shia community in the form of malang. How should we approach this?
Form of what?
Malang. Have you heard
Is
of
that
the concept?
type of meat or something?
Does the person who asked the question want to explain?
I know what malang is. I know. You see, the thing is, how to think before you speak. Yeah, you've been recorded. I'm not afraid of anyone except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I will say what I think is the right thing. If it's not, then I'd love to be challenged. That's the way I do it. But the thing is that generally speaking, in our Shia faith, we have those people who believe in certain areas where when we commemorate the martyrdoms of our imams, they beat their chests, they spill blood. They also perhaps understand the different hadiths that in certain scholars might think they are weak narrations, but no, they believe that there's strong narrations they have, or they don't really focus on the narrations itself, but they take these hadiths. And it's different, is there different understanding of how to commemorate the martyrdoms of our imams. I'm not going to judge those individuals, because the important thing is that they have they perhaps have this so much immense love towards the imams that they come out with these things because of their love towards imam. But what I say is the following: is if your marja allows you to do it, and we have to make sure that if our marja allows us to do it, and I don't mean that if the marja is quiet about it, yeah. I mean, if the marja has explicitly said, yes, you should do these malang stuff and the tatbir and things like that, then you have a justification to do it. I'm not qualified to challenge the marja. Okay, then you have a justification to do it. But of course, if you don't have it, if your marja says no, or if he's quiet, in my point of view, if he's quiet, if he really, you see, if a marja is quiet about it, I personally believe, this is my interpretation. I don't belong to any. I don't represent any marja or any scholar. But if he's quiet, that really means that he's against it, isn't it? Because if he was for it, he would have said it. Yeah. If he's for it, he would have said, yeah, go and do it. What's stopping him say it? So that's my interpretation. But if the marja says is quiet or says don't do it, then it's of course haram on you to do it. And that's the important thing. For me personally, my own reflection is that, as I said, I'm not a marja, but I have a personal point of view on this as someone who's there in the communities. I look at the media, I see how the Daily Mail every single year publishes a picture, every single year, from Karbala and Lebanon and others, publishes a paper, a photo of people who are hitting, and especially babies who've got blood coming down their face, right? Whereas their parents, they cut their head for Tatbir and Ashura. You go and search Shia in Google, what do you get? Not really, you don't get Tatbir. You actually get this Hollywood Shia, what's his name? Shia Labuth? Baluth. شنو جعفر ايش اسمه؟ شو مدري كنت جعفر بلوث ما ادري شو اسمه. Shia, someone knows? Huh? Labov, yeah, whatever. But also you can go to, Karbala, Shia, and then you see all the blood, and that's not the image. You see, the thing is that perhaps 100 years ago, Tatbir was an okay thing. Okay, it was perhaps a good thing that motivates people to go on, do things and battle. Now we've moved on. That's why I believe in, the reason why I've done these stuff in my lectures, why I've tried to interact and I've given PowerPoint, because I believe that as communities we've evolved. The youth are understanding things differently than sitting down here and giving you verbal diarrhea. Yeah? So I think as speakers, as community leaders, as a community, we have to evolve with time. We can't stay stagnated. We've got to keep on opening our eyes, find out what's going on in the community and evolve with the community, right? Evolve with the world. What's happening in the world? Evolve with that. Now, it's not the time for tatbir because and all the malang stuff, and because it's damaging our reputation as Shias. This is my humble point of view, but again I emphasize that if your marja' says it's okay, then he knows best.
So it's midnight now. How do you
Is
feel?
it?
Yeah, about.
Subhanallah, brother. I can stay until.
Are there any other questions from the audience?
But if there is a pressing question, then. Maybe you should.
In regard of lobbying the governments with our thoughts and ideas, I believe that, for example, in one of the European countries recently, they have banned the burqa and something else for the burqa for ladies.
Yeah, the burqa.
Yeah, the burqa and something else, niqab.
Niqab, yeah.
They have forbidden that.
Isn't that the same thing, the burqa and the niqab?
That's what I thought, but that's what they called it in the
Same thing,
newspaper,
yeah.
on the newspaper. So I think we have to say that's right because it's not part of Islam. It's not required by Muslims to wear niqab and burqa. So
I think it's very difficult to say it's not part of Islam. No marja' has come out and said that it's not part of Islam. In fact, Sayyid al-Khu'i had it as a must for him. It's wajib on the sisters to have niqab, according to Sayyid al-Khu'i at that time.
So why don't they have it when they are going to Mecca?
Who?
Ladies. For Hajj.
What do you mean?
It's not compulsory in Hajj.
When they are doing the
No, the Hajj has its own rules. You can't. No, okay. Then why is it okay for me to to be with my wife outside Hajj and it's not allowed during the Hajj time and stuff like that? So it's the Hajj has its own rules. You can't mix the two rules together. Yes. But in terms of the niqab and stuff, of course we say in the West that it's not. Of course, it's not wajib, but the woman has the choice. She can do that or not. But what is dangerous about that statement of saying, look, let's say no to niqab, because then it will start to trickle down to no to hijab. Okay?
No, sorry. Sorry. What I meant is that I didn't finish my.
Sorry.
Is that when we say yes, it's not required by Islam. Then when they're going to say that hijab is to be banned, we say no, it is part of our religion. We can say it. But if we keep silent now, we cannot talk later on. That's what I mean.
Okay. Who said keep silent?
Now we kept it silent when they said that burqa is banned in these countries.
Yeah.
Nobody has said anything about it.
Yeah,
our
but
side.
yeah, well, there have been people talking about it, but as I said, it's very important for us to say, as a Muslim woman, she has the freedom to choose, whether she wants to do this burqa or not. But my humble opinion is that we shouldn't really say it in terms of don't do it. But perhaps living in the UK and the West, it's not seen as a progressive thing. But it's I'm very sensitive about this issue, because then if we come out and say, yeah, we're against burqa and stuff like that, then they will, slowly people start to, say, okay, what's the point of hijab then? And then start to, affect the hijab issue, which is a very important point. And by the way, regarding hijab, my wife always tells me that you guys, as speakers, and my brother as well, shouldn't talk about hijab because you're not a woman. True, innit? True.
Yeah, but we've got another problem. For example, when they've
We have
got
a lot
this
of problems.
when they've got this practice in some of the Islamic countries,
Yeah.
About girls' circumcision or genital.
Yeah, FGM. Yeah.
Yes. So it's not part of our Islam. So people.
Yeah, but that's right. But you'll be you'll be surprised if you go back to some of our books about this issue. That's all I can say.
Yeah, brother, on niqab and burqa,
Yes.
I think it is not part of Islam, because where it says Ya Nisa Nabi, it is for Ya Nisa Nabi, not even for Banat.
Oh, you're getting us into some beef.
It says at the end, Ya Nisa lastunna ka ahadim minan nisa.
Yeah.
So it is particularly for them. It says lastunna ka.
You're talking about hijab in general?
No, not hijab, the niqab business.
There is debate on that.
Well,
I don't want to get into this debate now.
When it says lastunna ka ahadim minan nisa, it means other are exempted from it.
No, there is debate on this. That's not. But it's not specifically about that. He's saying generally, you as a woman, you're not like any other woman. You have specific conditions and specific rules. Because you're the wife of the Prophet, you have to follow certain rules, generally speaking, but not specifically about that.
Then conclusion can be drawn that other don't have to do it.
Others, what do you mean?
Other women don't have to wear niqab. That's the conclusion from it.
Yeah, no, yes, I mean, it's as a lot of our maraja have said that it's not compulsory to wear hijab. To wear. Rewind. It's midnight. I said niqab. I meant niqab. Please don't cut the video and put it out.
Okay, we'll
Let me repeat this, man. Wait, my reputation is on the line here. I said that Islam is Islam. What did I say? I'll forget it.
Okay, we'll call it a day there.
We'll call it a day. Yeah.
So
it's good for me.
We'd like to, on behalf of IUS, behalf of all the community, we'd like to thank Dr. Ali Al-Hilli for visiting us for these 6 nights. He's obviously put a lot of time into preparing these lectures and thought about what he's going to say and give us specific things that we can try and do. So we're very grateful for his preparation and his efforts. So we'd like to also hope that he comes back in a future date, perhaps, to visit us again, because the feedback has been very positive. So just to thank him, please recite aloud salawat. Our next program will be the Eid event on Saturday the 16th of June. Okay. Assalamu alaikum everyone.